just to be still and discover our own inner divinity. That is yoga, meditation. To be free from all troubles. That means bodily diseases, mental inharmonies, and spiritual ignorance. To be free from all these three types of troubles and to remain always in infinite bliss or infinite joy. That is the purpose of it. Paramahansa Yogananda tells us something interesting. He says at the age of 3, the spiritual training should start. It's not after you become very old. It's not that way.
Correct.
When the scientists are having problem, they are thinking that something in the brain or all those things, they are creating the consciousness.
Everything else can wait, but your search for God cannot wait. And this is a saying by Paramahansa Yogananda Ji. So today we have with us such a person who can guide us, who can truly let us know this quote really mean and what is the significance of that. So we have with us Swami Suddhananda Giri Ji, who is a very senior YSS monk, and today I got a chance by Guruji grace to sit with him or at his feet. And this conversation is going to go deeply into this spiritual conversation about his experiences, how he journeyed from being an engineer to being a monk. So many things are there we are going to discuss today. So welcome Swamiji, namaste for giving me a chance. How are you, Swamiji?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to just do this interview, because if this is a benefit to many people, so that is a great joy.
Yes, very nice. So the today theme of our this conversation is spirituality, science, and the solutions, because we have like the problems in our life.
Mm-hmm.
So generally we caught up in the problems only.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't look for the solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and solutions are where we all look for, and spirituality is a way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to know your views on these themes, and first I would like to tell, like Swamiji has a very brief career, like he is an alumnus of IIT Madras. From there he did his BTech, and after that he joined BARC, that is Bhabha Atomic Research Centre, as a scientist there, and I think you worked there for 5 years.
Yeah, research on plasma physics.
And after that he has some inner calling. To follow that, he joined YSS, that is Yogoda Satsanga Society, as a monk, as a disciple of Guruji, that is Paramahansa Yogananda. And after that, he is serving from 1980 in that society. Like we can see, this is now 2025. So long years, like we can see 45 years of rich experience you have, and we all look today like we all will get benefited by your real practical experience, like you are going to guide us. So first of all, Swamiji, I would like to go into your journey, like how being as a engineer and then being as a researcher and now as a monk, how you relate all these phases of your life, like how, because somewhere when we are into those situations, it's hard to understand all those things. But now you are able to track that journey. So how the transition happened?
Yeah, to put it in a very simple way, I was involved in research on increasing the efficiency of thermal power plants. That means more of electrical power generation, we can say. So I shifted gears. Instead of concentrating on electrical power generation, I became enamored by spiritual power generation. So that is how transition was made. Then I found that as I got into that, I discovered this wonderful scientific path. Then I thought that this is a universal scientific path which can benefit so many souls in this world. Then I thought that it is good for me to dedicate my life for this purpose. I felt automatically drawn from inside. So that is how I found that it was not leaving one area and going another area. It is actually moving from one area to higher area, that way. So from spiritual power generation to electrical power generation to spiritual power.
That is a very nice way to say, like it's more of a transformating thing, not the changes which transform you. So I would like to go a little bit deeper into your childhood, like when you were as a child in your family situation, how was your parents and all. Like that time also that spiritual environment was there, like because these situations somewhere like impels us to think these situation of life, like what this life is all about. So you were also thinking about these, like which, because sudden nothing happens. somewhere you were thinking, a little bit I want to go deeper into that. If you like to share those things.
Actually, in the life of everybody, there is a gradual, that change of perception and understanding, and then that makes us change our roles and the way we have been doing. So I was brought up in a very religious and that way spiritual family. So we had a good religious training in younger days, and also that continued later on also. But then once I discovered Autobiography of Yogi, then before that, even though I was trained in many of the spiritual practices, but then many things were not clear to me those days. So some of them blindly following, the customs and practices, like visiting temple and that type of thing, doing, that arati or doing japa, all that, those type of things. But not clearly understanding why I was doing, what was the purpose of life, those things were not clear. But once I read Autobiography of Yogi when I was in IIT, then it became clear to me, and that also came like a little bit of in a miraculous way, because a fellow student was a drug addict. For years he was repeating the final year. He could not even speak coherently. Suddenly he changed. I found that he became normal and very calm, and then I was really wonderstruck. I asked him what happened. He said that he read Autobiography of Yogi, that gave him that about the purpose of life and how he can also contribute to the welfare of the society, whatever. So then he started taking Yogoda Satsanga lessons. This is something unique in YSS. That is, from the house itself, one can take these lessons, where the instructions are given on how to meditate and also how to lead a well-balanced and successful life. So these lessons he took, and he got inspired. After a few months, he got so much inner strength, he kicked the habit. So I was so thrilled by seeing that. So then I got the book. I also got it from the library in IIT. Before that, I was searching for what is the correct path for me. Even though I had the background, but then I was reading so many books and many things, and more I was reading, more I was getting confused. But when I read Autobiography of Yogi, there was a very clear understanding of what is the purpose of life, and how I can serve the society, and how I can find God, whatever, the different types of things of life. So that's how it became clear to me.
So many phases, this answer open for this conversation, like we can talk of. And like you mentioned of that your fellow who was having these issues of addictions and all, I think these, like modern these days, so many people are going into those things. So this is like showing a way to others also, those who are engaging in this conversation, like how this book can be a solution for all those problems. Because in my life also, when I was having some issues, then same book also showed me a way, like change my perception, like what is the purpose of life. Generally we think just earning and seeking for a job, these are like and that somewhere makes us frustrated also, like at the end we don't get satisfied with that. So you mentioned of this book, like any particular thing like which attracted your attention, because when I read that book, it's like so many things, like Guruji is explaining experiences, meeting with saints. So any particular thing like you were searching for questions, like answers in a very scientific way, you are researchers also. Any particular thing like which attracted your attention?
Yeah, actually many of the chapters in the autobiography I got inspired, especially the last chapter. I would recommend anyone who has not yet read Autobiography Yogi, read the full book, especially the last chapter, pay attention to that. Because there, Paramahansa Yogananda tells very clearly, each one of us have been created with uniqueness. That means there is a speciality with which the Great Spirit, whatever way you want to call, God or whatever way you want to call, has created each one of us with some uniqueness. Bringing out that uniqueness is the purpose of life.
Wow.
And in addition, that diversity has been created by God in order to have a good variety, and this will be a very charming, the creation is very charming. So, but then he is challenging us to discover the unity in diversity, because another passage in Autobiography tells us very clearly, God is love his plan for creation can only be rooted in love. So that gives so much of solace and comfort to the human, that heart, more than any other erudite reasonings and thinking, whatever philosophies and things like that. The simple principle that God is love and his plan is rooted in love. So if you just combine these two, that means discover the unity and diversity. At the same time, you have to bring out your own speciality or uniqueness from within. So there is like a paradox. So
nice.
Reconciliation of these opposites. So that is why we get confused, because we concentrate on one side and we neglect the other side, or we think of the other side, neglect this side.
Definitely.
Whereas in yoga, where the way our Yogoda Satsanga Society has brought out the essence of yoga many times people confuse with only Hatha Yoga and things like that. But real yoga is the Raja Yoga, which a balanced path, which so where we are advised not to neglect any dimension of our being.
Wow.
That means we have many faculties. All the faculties have to be developed in a uniform way. That is what God's plan is. That means leading a balanced life, discover your own uniqueness, and then travel in the path and find out the unity. That means all of us, we are come from one source. There is a divine source. So discover the divinity.
Wow.
So that.
Wonderful, Swamiji, and that also touched me, that love like you're talking of, and especially when we say it's more of an unconditional love, that's what connects all of us together. So when you were because when you ask question, a lot of it somewhat become more a drying process, you have the answer but it's not satisfying you somewhere. But when you start appreciating that love, that experience that you go through, then that somewhere changes your heart.
Yes.
So that is what important. So on that I would like to ask you how it happened, because we generally know these things, but when we go through that life phases, we forget that love and all, we start becoming affected by these life situations. And somewhere we start doing, this person has done this to me, so I will be also like that. So people get touched by all these situations and they get like you mentioned, uniqueness. And we forget our uniqueness, we worked on it. So how this yoga and especially Kriya Yoga, I think you're a practitioner of that, show the light in these ways.
Again, I think the same principle of reconciliation of opposites. Like we have inner life and outer life. In outer life, we function with the body and the mind mainly. And then we interact with other people in the world and we contribute to the world, whatever. Inner being is our thought processes, our emotions and the feelings and all of that. So, in general, people tend to focus more on the outer only. That is the main cause of all the problems. If we have a perfect balance between inner and outer life, then much of the problems of the society, of the world will be solved. This is what our rishis and munis had found thousands of years before by research. They found that inner technology has to match with the outer technology. Inner science has to match with the outer science. Inner arts has to match with the outer arts, whatever.
Yeah.
That means what? Once you discover, we have control over our thoughts and feelings. We don't have control over other people's actions and things like that. So whenever we get into some situation where there is a conflict, where there is a problem, some inharmony is there. So once you go inside and find out how we are contributing to the situation and which is in our hands to take care of it, so then you find that you find a better way of dealing with the other people. Instead of normally we get into tendency of immediately blaming the circumstances, blaming other people, blaming the country, blaming politics, whatever. We just get into the blame game and then forget to really find out what is the real cause which is giving. So our rishis and munis have found the real cause is that we have to have a perfect balance between inner and outer. And especially the inner should be given more importance. So Paramahansa Yogananda Ji summarized it very beautifully as a formula which everybody can remember. To be calmly active and actively calm. That summarizes that whole, how the life should be led. That means when you discover dynamic peace and spiritual qualities, that is actively calm. And then holding on to those divine vibrations, we function in the world without losing your inner peace, without losing your joy, without losing cheerfulness, when you function in the world, then you learn the art of living. This is a life skill.
Wow.
We need to develop this life skill.
Wonderful. Swamiji, very nice, and it's very great. Like we, from our childhood, that learning starts of outer life, but no one teaches about inner life. So I want you, like, can you go a little bit deeper into that, like how that life, like we all know our thought disturbs us, but we don't know how to control them. So what is, like, you talk of technology, you are a researcher yourself, you are a scientist. So how you can make that technology so easy, like anyone can use in that life, because we know this we have to do, but somewhere we feel ourselves unskilled, like we don't know how to do it. So can you throw some deeper light into that?
Okay. So first, if you understand how in a structured way the creation has been made, that will be very helpful for us. For example, interestingly, Albert Einstein, he made a remark that I don't want to know this phenomena or that phenomena. I want to know how God thought of creation. Very surprising, isn't it? A great scientist going to the root of creation. That means whole creation has come out of thoughts. That is the basis of creation. There is no material basis. Whole creation has come only out of thoughts. Once you remember that, then what is the process, how the structure has come? Our Sankhya philosophy explains very beautifully. That means first thought level, which is called the causal plane. Then we come next, condensing the thoughts. Energy patterns are created. Prana is active. And all those subtle senses are all created. That is the astral level. Then further condensing, then we have solid, liquid, vapor and all the material things, etc. That comes the last, the grossest vibration. So that means from finest vibration to grossest vibration, there's a spectrum, that whole thing. So now once you understand that, if you want to control your emotion, for example, let us say practical point, I get very angry. Immediately anything, I got a short fuse. Somebody says something, I get immediately irritated, I get upset or angry. How do I control it? I find that if I have the habit, I have developed the habit for a long time, very difficult to uproot that. Because habit has got power. Because again and again thinking that energy is gathered around that thought. Simple wish has got no energy in that. But when we repeat something again and again, this is a habit mechanism. Once you understand that, then if there is any negative emotion or corrosive emotion within, you want to change, all we have to do is using Archimedes' principle, law of displacement. That means instead of the negative thought which is controlling your life, you just proactively, you start instilling a positive thought, which takes time. Patiently you have to go on. So once you keep on doing it, then when as it becomes really powerful, then the other one is displaced completely. This is a scientific method of overcoming. That you see how it can be used by everybody, because we all have the problem of many things we are not able to control. Moods control our lives. Habits control our lives. Outer circumstances, they immediately, make us, become discouraged very easily. All of that. Against all these odds, against all these challenges, how we can maintain equanimity, how we can remain, peaceful and calm and remain cool, to use the modern technology, modern terms. So how do we do that? So this comes by first understanding the mechanism by which God has created, then taking the consciousness from lower level to the higher level in a conscious way. That Kriya Yoga, for example, is one of the methods which our ancient rishis had discovered, which Bhagavan Krishna gave to Arjuna, and Patanjali also, advocates that, and many other great saints also have practiced that. This method works on the principle of energy control. So behind the thought, if there is energy, so and you control the energy and then change the thought, both ways it's possible. That means if you just able to control the energy which is operating at a grosser level, you bring the energy and make it operate at a finer level, naturally your thoughts also will be refined. You go to a higher level. That's how consciousness starts operating at a higher level. So that is why this method, scientific method, is something which will be very useful for everybody. There are so many methods in this world, because God has created the variety. So each one will find a particular method more suitable.
Correct.
But in general, Kriya Yoga is a very universal and scientific method which can be applied by anybody from any background, any religious background or any national background, whatever it is, everybody can apply this principle because it is based on energy control.
Wow.
So energy is what is activating the body mechanism, for example. So instead of letting that operate only the body organs, muscles, nerves, etc., so that energy withdrawn from that, body becomes relaxed and you withdraw the energy and go inside. Then you start discovering the inner world where you find subtle energies are operating.
Correct.
So then you naturally go to a higher level. So in this way, if you spend a little time every day in meditation, you are like using a process like Kriya Yoga, then you have islands of experience of peace. So once you gather that, holding on to that peace, it becomes much easier for you to function in the outer world without getting troubled by so many things.
Very nice. And somewhere like you got instilled in the reality like within us, like you mentioned of subtle thing and the causal thing. So that is, and you also mentioned the mechanism, like how these subtle energies or the prana we can use to control it. And I think it needs a lot of practice, or like just a little bit of practice can give you that, or like you need a lot of, because like these yogis and you yourself like 45 years you are practicing, meditating daily. Somewhere like it needs a lot of inner conviction daily. You are getting something that's what making you propelled in that way. So how long practice you need to do that? Like if anyone starting initially, maybe directly they can't become like so much controlled, but how that journey will start? Like if anyone is in that problem, like I also met with so many people, they say a lot of negative issues are there, environment is negative, company is negative, so many things, they have a lot, but you ask them what is good, they don't have words. And one thing you also mentioned, shift the attention from that negative to positive.
Correct.
In that yoga, I think they say pratipaksha bhavanam. How we can, because negativity cannot be solved with negativity. So how to go into deeper into that?
Yeah, the thing is that we have to first understand where we are in the ladder of evolution. So we normally start at a very gross level, gradually evolve and go to higher and higher level. So as we know from our research on spirituality by Indian rishis and munis, that this is not the only life. There are many lives. So each life we learn and then keep on growing more and more. So from the past, suppose I have brought some tendencies or I already done a lot of work in the past. So this life, then as soon as I start, I may immediately go like a shooting star. I may go very fast. Or I am just starting now. Then it will take quite some time for me to overcome all the negative, whatever liabilities and other things which have been created with the past samskaras. So it takes time to do that. So that is why we can't give a fixed timeline that by this time you will be able to get like that. It varies from person to person. Paramahansa Yogananda put it in a very charming way. He said that he looks at people who are on the spiritual path like people on a running race. There are some who are swiftly, racing towards the goal very fast. Some are going at a moderate speed. Some are walking slowly. And there are some who are running backwards.
True.
So those who don't explore the real purpose of life, they lead a mechanical existence and just a sort of animalistic existence. That means they think that purpose of life only to eat, be merry and just die. But that type of Epicurean philosophy, if people have that type of thing, they are all actually running backwards because they are not really exploring the real purpose of life, etc. So that is why there is no, but at the same time, Kriya Yoga is a path which is suited to everybody who may be just a beginner, just starting on the evolution ladder is at the very low level, or somebody who has come almost to the high level. To all of them, to this person as well as that person, this is applicable. That is something unique, charming.
Wonderful, Swamiji. And when you mention of purpose of life, somewhere initially I was also don't know what's the purpose of life, and somewhere we think like eating, thinking, job, all those are purpose of life, and that is what we are trained to do also. Like we see everywhere like people are chasing all these things, but somewhere some like phases of life will make us think in a deeper way. We start thinking what is the purpose of life. So what do you think, like how your conviction, like your thinking changed from initially like you started on journey and now how it changed, like you think like what's the now purpose of life, because we have to somewhere match with this modernity also. Because saying that like one thing, it's like not everyone going to understand. So how we can tell the purpose of life in a more holistic way or more of a totalistic way? Can you say anything on that?
Correct. Actually, as I said before, I didn't have clarity on the purpose of life. So somewhat vaguely I was thinking, but no clarity. Yeah, even the concept of God, concept of who we are, how we are connected to God, all those things were not clear to me. But after autobiography, as I said, reading the autobiography, then the things became clear. And also one more book I read, which I would recommend also to anyone who wants to think logically, who want to scientifically explore the purpose of life. That is Science of Religion.
Oh.
So that is the book. It was based on a talk given by Paramahansa Yogananda, first talk in America, in Boston. Congress of Religious Liberals. He was delegate from India and he gave the talk where he talks about, is there a universal purpose of life, common for all? Because we have so many other purposes,
Correct.
Earning money and whatever different types of things we are all pursuing. They are all practical things. But what is the real purpose of life? So if you read this book, you will get clarity. I will summarize it, which says that to be free from all troubles, that means bodily diseases, mental inharmonies, and spiritual ignorance. To be free from all these three types of troubles and to remain always in infinite bliss or infinite joy. That is the purpose of life. That is how Sankhya philosophy tells us very clearly. Once you understand that, so then we should ask the question. Suppose I am very famous in my field. I have done very successful in my career, whatever. Have I really achieved the purpose of life? When I ask that question, I find no. Because I am still subject to all these troubles. I can get any time, the disease can come to the body. And any type of negative things can affect my mind. And I don't have clear cut, that the ignorance is very much there. So with all this, then I see that it is not enough. So that is why, Paramahansa Yogananda has given a formula for a successful life. That means we have to have good health for the body. That is important. We should not neglect. Yoga doesn't recommend neglecting anything.
Wow.
So keep your body in a fit condition. Develop the powers of the mind. That means willpower, imagination power, creative ability, all those things, developing all of that, so that we are always proceeding in a positive way to achieve the goals, whatever you set in your life. Ability to achieve goals, that is one of the characteristics of a successful person.
True.
So that one, plus controlling the emotions.
That's
one has to give importance to that. It is not that outer achievement in particular field, that's not enough. In addition, how you govern your emotions, how you deal with people, are you able to deal with all sorts of people, you get along, you have a good teamwork, all those things are important also. Then just to be still and discover our own inner divinity, that is yoga, meditation. So if you combine that, all these dimensions, then you focus on all, don't neglect anything. Then you find a secret, a formula, that how to be really successful. That is, you are not neglecting any dimension. That means to be a successful businessman is very good. It is nothing wrong. To be a successful engineer, technocrat, doctor, business, whatever it is, any field, you can surely achieve success in that field. But at the same time, you also should not neglect keeping the body in a fit condition. And then also controlling your emotions and getting along with people and discovering that inner divinity by withdrawing from the outside world, going inside and discovering that.
Wonderful. I think you have connected all these phases. Like, I think in just simple one answer, you have connected all the problems like these students have, these businessmen have, these doctors have, like how just discovering. So that's why Ananda, that bliss that we feel, and that's why I put the channel name also Anandyatra. So somewhere we are finding that joy only, but we are trying outside but not finding the answer. But you are showing the way, like how the divinity and these Kriya Yoga teachings for my life also, it helped me. Like we have an option to think of, like, because when you don't know these things and you are in some problems, like you don't have any answers. You don't have any options to look for. Like you can look for the teachings, like you can look for the visions. So now my next question will be, like, when you know all these things, slowly life will also teach us through the various experiences that we go through. But how to apply these things in our life? Like, as a student, if a kid is there in the school, for him to score good marks, that's what the aim of the life. For a person who is having business, so how all these persons at their stage of life can still continue this goal of divinity? Because somewhere in our, like, we say in world, these are things for at the later stages of the life. Like, why you are doing all these things now? It's not needed. Like, I don't have time for meditation and all. But you are showing it's like a basic need we should have, and the main need what we should do. So how to give that like vision to everyone and follow ourselves also, that is the main thing.
Correct. Actually, Paramahansa Yogananda tells us something interesting. He says at the age of 3, the spiritual training should start. It's not after you become very old. It's not that way.
Correct.
At this, because once you understand spirituality means covering all dimensions, not neglecting anything. That's the real spirituality. So it is not just otherworldliness. People normally think spirituality means you are not of this world.
Correct.
Like that.
Correct.
It is not true.
Correct.
So a spiritual person that Paramahansa Yogananda tells about his guru Swami Suddhananda Giri in the Autobiography, Yogi. Head high in the heavens, feet firmly planted on the ground. So that tells us very clearly the balance. That means very lofty ideals are there, and we dwell on that and then try to reach that state. At the same time, we are also very practical in this world, whatever field we are, like a student. Then we try to excel in our studies. And as a businessman, we want to be very successful in our company, whatever. So in that way, to be successful in whatever area we are doing, by using practical means, and to be very practical. At the same time, we are also, having very high level thoughts and level. So that is the balance which is possible through Kriya Yoga practice.
Correct.
So when we start doing meditation, even from a small childhood, that's a great advantage.
Is it possible, Swamiji, a child can meditate?
Yes, we have already started now our children's Satsanga.
Yes.
We encourage in our ashrams, kendras and mandalis everywhere. Now we are also having very clear-cut programs and syllabus and everything. Training also our devotees to impart this, training to the students, and at various levels. Start, first primary level, then secondary level, then youth, then young adults. In that way, various levels that this training can be given. So little children, according to their level, simple meditation can be there. And as they grow older and they learn more things, then more and more advanced things can be taught to them. Like
wonderful, Swamiji, and like it's make me feel like if children start from that small age, when they will become like us, they are like so strong personality, like we see, because then it will be very easy for them to like know all these things, to practice all these things. So I would like to say others also, like can you tell us like how, because generally when I was a teacher in a school, when I used to tell kids like we will meditate and all, they were little bit like, we will not, sir, you give us a chance to play, we will go for games and all. So some practical tips or teachings you can tell, like how to engage these kids in these meditation things, like if you would like to say anything on that. How to make it more interesting for them, like they should also understand that in that time.
Correct. Actually, teachers have to be more creative, how they can reach out to the children. They should not talk from their level. They have to put themselves in the children's level of thinking and reach. Like for example, one report came about a teacher in a Delhi school. He wanted to introduce this little meditation for the children. So what he did was, he asked the children, just sit in silence for 1 minute or 2 minutes. Then after that, he told the children, you all shout and as much as you want, make noise. Another 2 minutes. Then ask the question, which one did you like the most? Very surprisingly, most of the children said that when we are in silence, that was more enjoyable at the time than when we are making noise. You see how this teacher was so creative. Instead of simply saying that meditate,
correct,
but rather, he made it interesting for the children. So that is something we need to learn. How to creatively, how to teach the children and make it interesting for them.
And it's like some way you are showing that teachers also need to practice yoga meditation.
Exactly.
Then they can think in these terms.
Exactly.
And like when you give students example, it's more a living thing for them. Like you say to them anything, like you do or you want them to do, it's somewhat they will listen from 1 year and they will leave it from other year. But the way you are saying, we should give them examples, and it's a very much responsibility. Like we see Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam is there. So much kids are connected to them. So if somewhere that spirituality can be a part of everyone's life, teachers especially, like these days, because when I was in school, I heard like some teachers at the back, they were saying like, this kids is like that only, he will not do anything in life. So somewhere when a teachers think like that, it will be a like negative vibe we create for kids.
Correct.
So these yogic techniques are becoming very beneficial for teachers also. Like
yes.
you would like to say that. Okay. Now moving on to further few more things, we talked about the students also. And like we see these days, like so many people are having relationship issues. Like you mentioned of emotions, how to control them, and the social media also have like come up in and creating problem. Most of our time is going in screen also. Then sir, where is the time for this meditation and all? Like we are somewhere lost in all these things. So what is the way to come back to our real way of joy and happiness?
See, once you are anchored in your real self, we have got a shallow self and the real self. Shallow self is what is interacting with the outer world, using our body and mind as an extra instrument. They are our instruments. Soul is the one which is actually experiencing everything. But when we identify too much with the body and mind, then external things, they become very important in our lives. That is why through meditation, we experience what is soul, what is the qualities of the soul. Once you experience that, then handling the outside become much easier to do. So relationship problems, they all come because we all expect others to behave properly, others to behave the way we want, control their lives or what manipulate their lives or whatever, that type of thing. That doesn't work. Relationship should be based on unconditional love. That means you just give more, you focus on how I can serve, how I can give to the other person. So then the relation becomes much different. Whereas normally what happens is we demand from the other person.
True.
I expect that, all of that, and focus more on the other person's behavior rather than our own behavior. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. When we have the relationship, then we should appreciate the wonderful things the other person has and point out lovingly some corrections which can be made. Interestingly, one of the recent management books by like Ken Blanchard on 1 Minute Manager. He talks about appreciate much about in 1 minute. Most of the time you appreciate first, then you give a little bit of feedback. So if you apply these type of principles, then relationship will become much better.
Correct.
So and that type of ability comes once you are anchored in your realer self rather than the shallow self. Because
I really like this idea of shallow self and real deeper self. Somewhere we don't think like that way, and these things like and you mentioned initially also of a habit. Like sometimes it become a habit. Like I met few people, they will say, sir, I am more habitual of that. I try to leave that, don't do that, but still I am like compelled to do these things. So I think you will say meditation is only the way to...
Through meditation, we get the ability to replace negative habits or bad habits, replace them with the good habits. Because when we start thinking at a higher level, then developing good habits also becomes much natural, more natural for us to develop.
Wonderful. Like you are saying, if we can create wrong habits also, we can create good habits also.
Correct.
Wow, this is very nice. And somewhere, Swamiji, we met with like few incidences in our life, like we don't have control, like someone close to us passes away or something like that, whom we are more connected to, sometimes their behavior completely changes. And we feel very saddened about that, like this person is so close to me and suddenly it changed. So how to understand these all situations?
You see, we are all different at different times. We are not the same at all the time. Because our personality changes, our way of thinking changes, our reactions change depending on circumstances, etc. So if somebody has a tendency towards some quality, so far the such circumstances were such that there was no possibility for that quality to manifest. But suddenly situation changes and the quality comes out. Then we get a shock, we get a surprise. How can this person behave like this and things like that. But once you understand, we are all capable of bringing out the strengths and also bringing out the weaknesses from within. When somebody brings out the weakness, then we should have empathy, we should have forgiveness, we should have compassion, we should have kindness. Then we find that it is possible to deal with that situation.
Like these higher qualities you are telling, and you mentioned in the midwhile also the qualities of a soul.
Yes.
And would you like to show some light on these? Like what are the qualities as a soul, like we can practice and manifest in our life, like which can help us in daily life situations?
Correct. I will give one reference. If because many of our people in India, we are familiar with Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
So if you go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, 1, 2, 3 slokas, where Bhagavan Krishna tells us 26 sattvic qualities, spiritual qualities. It starts with fearlessness, then established in purity of heart, and established in wisdom and practice of yoga, like that. It starts like that. Abhayam, Sattva, Samshuddhi, like that it goes. So these 26 qualities, if you take, maybe like in a year there are 52 weeks. 2 weeks you take one quality. This is one practical method of practical method of developing. So once you develop these qualities, then you find that you got a wonderful you got a wonderful bank of qualities available with you.
Any particular quality which are very close to your heart out of these 26 qualities, like which really helped you in your life also, in your various experiences, like which are very close to you, you feel yes, this helped me a lot?
Yeah, for me the one quality which helped very much was, it is not exactly mentioned by Bhagavad Gita in the Bhagavad Gita sloka, but it is there. That is enthusiasm. That once you are interested in whatever you are doing, that makes a difference. When you are enthusiastic about anything, there is tremendous energy.
Wow.
So whatever you do, do it with enthusiasm, with interest. This will be the advice for me to the mainly the youngsters. So if you learn how to do everything with enthusiasm, whatever it is, you will see a tremendous difference in your life.
Wow. But Swamiji, sometimes we like things, we feel interested to do those things. But sometimes we don't like things and situation come. Then how to develop that enthusiasm?
Exactly. So that itself is a big topic, because what you don't feel like doing, but it is important for you, how to develop enthusiasm.
Correct.
So you have to use all your abilities, creative thinking, imagination, visualization, affirmation, many methods you can use to develop the enthusiasm.
Wow, Swamiji, very nice. And I am feeling like these are like unending questions, and somewhere at the end, like what I am feeling is we have to start applying all these things. Then we are going to get the answer for all these things. And at the last, I will ask you one more question. I think it's very personal. Like everyone has some issues, challenges in life when we go through that. So any challenges you got in your life, like you would like to share, and how using these Kriya Yoga teachings, especially of Yogananda Ji, you got out of those issues, and really you feel ki if these teachings were not in your life, how your life would be like?
Okay, that's an interesting question. One thing, for example, till my career in BARC, I used to be very shy. I never used to talk. I could not talk more than 2 sentences, like that.
But today you are all talking.
Very tongue-tied. So by practice of Kriya Yoga, by application of these teachings, there's a complete transformation of the personality. That those who have met me at those days, they cannot believe it's the same person.
Yes.
So that is the example I would say. That means that when you discover the real self, then you find there are no limitations, because there are infinite potentials are within each human being. God has given us tremendous potentials within, but we should learn how to tap into that, how to develop those qualities like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's really nice. Like it's like a sea. How deeper you go into it, it depends on your exploration, what you want to explore, and Today I think you are the only one who is talking, but you are saying that time you are like not able to talk and all those things. So that shows how these teachings have transformed us definitely. And one thing these teachings, this question, like so many persons asked, like when you practice Kriya Yoga teachings, like sometimes we feel I am practicing like for long years, but I am not getting changes, still my life is full of challenges, I am getting issues. At those moments, how do you know, like still Guruji is helping you, these teachings helping you, still you keep this conviction?
First of all, you can study the examples of those who have been on this path and they have achieved this type of overcoming challenges and achieving victory. So there are many examples of at various levels. So if you just keep them as role models and see that this person has overcome, I can also overcome, like that. Even Paramahansa Yogananda himself, in his life, if you see how many challenges he had faced, you will just faint, to put it in a very mild way. That means you cannot believe a person went through such challenges and he has overcome and he has become successful. So if you study a little bit of these lives of great people, so that will give you inspiration. And persistence is the real thing. Because Paramahansa Yogananda says, perseverance is the magic of spiritual success. So because of our background, sometimes it may feel like we are not making progress. But if you just keep up the enthusiasm and keep on doing what is to be done, never become absent-minded, always willingly and with interest you do things. So then you will find surely you will be able to get the breakthrough. You will get success.
That is very positive side of that. But sometimes, Swamiji, it doesn't make you feel like when you look at these gurus, like so many experiences, so much they have done. We feel like we are nothing in front of these. Somewhere like to reach to that state, or I don't know how that journey. Sometimes it make you feel very like fearful also. Like we can't match up with all those things. We feel like a little bit guilty. Like I can't match with all these things. Somewhere like as a devotee we feel like this.
Yeah, one of the close disciples of Paramahansa Yogananda during his lifetime, when Guruji asked her, the devotee, to do something very difficult to do, he said, no, I will not be able to do. But Guruji said, I can do, so you can also do. He said, you are Yogananda. Then the devotee thought that very clever. Then after that Guruji will not say anything. But Guruji said, looked at her piercingly and saying that the only difference between you and me is that I made the effort. So you make the effort, you will also succeed.
Amazing. It's like based on effort. It doesn't depend whoever is doing, if we are able to do that. And few questions I would like to ask from your life. Like you have chosen this path of being a monk. So this life, how is it different, and how is your day schedule to be a monk, and how it's different from natural people like normal we are there?
See, actually each one of us, we have got different calling. So there is no difference. It is not like it's higher life than the other life that normally people have that type of concepts, but it is not true. It depends on wherever you are placed, you bring out your best and put your heart and soul into it. That's the main thing. So monk's life normally will involve quite a bit of, as you can immediately envisage, a sort of very disciplined life. That means we have got many things we need to observe very closely, very carefully, and things like that. But once you realize that it's a great joy to serve God and serve the children of God's children everywhere. So when you focus on that one, then your little bit of hard knocks or little bit of difficulties you are facing through, they are all nothing in comparison. So that is what we should think in a positive way, whatever it is. Instead of focusing on the challenges, which even modern management people tell us that a good manager is one. He is a manager who is operating from a circle of influence. Whereas normal managers who are sort of mediocre, what they do? They operate from circle of concern.
Correct.
You see all the spiritual principles, how they are being discovered in other areas also now. That means you focus more on contribution. How you can contribute more, what you can do to help improve, to help, rather than thinking about all the problems and the issues which are there. You are thinking about them and being concerned and become negative and reactionary, Instead of that, you just focus on what I can do to change the situation, how I can contribute in that way. That will make a difference.
Wow. What is your greatest learning till now being a monk? If you would like.
It is actually, it's a great joy to lead this life. This is what I would say. If there are some youngsters in our audience, in your audience, who are all wanting to dedicate their lives like that, so I say it's a very good opportunity to do that. In case you don't have other commitments and other expectations from your, you have some other responsibilities to take care of, and you are sort of free from those responsibilities. So one can consider this type of life, because there's a great saint of Tamil Nadu who said, "Yan betra inbam peragai vayyakam," means the joy which I have received, let the whole world receive. So by leading the monk's life, the fulfillment and the joy and whatever I feel. So if any others also want to experience that, I would say, please, I would encourage that. But one has to be practical. So you should not neglect something else and then come into this life. But if somebody is free like that, God has made that way, the situation where there are you have some people to take care of your loved ones, and they are not dependent on you like that, and no financial responsibilities, whatever, then you can surely consider the life.
Yes.
So that is what I would like to conclude, saying that this life is a great, wonderful life, very fulfilling life, very joyous life.
And Swamiji, I am very grateful for that, and I think why you are able to say that, because you are grounded in that. You are speaking from that center, and that's why whenever I look at you, little bit, I don't know if you are what, I feel like you have that joy. I always smiling, that is what my experience is with you, like that. So that is something we all seek in our life, and that Guruji also teach or say this is what the main goal of our life. Somewhere we do things, but we don't get result like what we feel. But sometimes we are happy in a life, joyful, then we can go through anything like that. So today's conversation is very beautiful, Swamiji. And at the last, I will just very beautiful a game of three. You have to tell me if you would like to tell me 3 books which change your life, 3 places that really transformed you, and 3 people who have transformed you. If you would like to tell us, yes, 3 books which change your life.
I would say Autobiography of Yogi is number 1 for me, and The Science of Religion is another one. One more book, which is a difficult book, but it very much helped me, is The Holy Science, which was by Paramahansa Yogananda Guru. These are the 3 books I found very helpful.
Okay.
And 3 people, we can say all our gurus. So instead of 3, I would say 6.
Okay, then next time I will ask 6. Okay, and the 3 places if you like.
And 3 places I like, our ashrams in Ranchi, for example, Paramahansa Yogananda has founded. And in Los Angeles, we have the Mount Washington ashram, where Paramahansa Yogananda established. And Encinitas ashram in America on the Pacific Ocean, by the side of Pacific Ocean. These 3 places, they are very much, they have uplifted my consciousness. And there are many more places, but these 3 stand out.
Wow. And these answers tell us or let us know how deep you are rooted in Guruji's teaching. Like all your answers are somewhere connected to Guruji only somewhere. And at the last, I will ask you simple one thing, because 2 things are more repetitive in this conversation. One is God and one is consciousness. So what in your experience, somewhere someone thinks it's more of idealistic thing, idols. So in your experience, what God is like for you? Is it consciousness, or is it the beloved, you love? What it is actually someone as a researcher or as a scientist, it's hard to understand that. Somewhere we find hard what it is. So,
but you see, if you think of God, if you immediately think of cosmic consciousness, which is the consciousness which is supreme, which is immanent and transcendent both. That is in creation and beyond creation, everything. That is the transcendental consciousness. And that is what, if you think of God, then He manifests the whole creation, which has come from God only. He is present also in every particle of creation. So then at various levels, God is manifesting in those levels. So sometimes we find it easier to connect to God through those manifestations. That is why we have the worship of, the various types of gods and things like that. That is not the ultimate. So through those forms, we have to go to the formless. And finally we reach the infinite consciousness. I think that is what scientifically to thinking, the infinite consciousness is God. And we are all little particle of that, little portion of that. So we are also actually one with the infinite consciousness. This is what is given by our great Brahma Sutras. You find Aham Brahmasmi, which means I am one with the infinite.
Correct. Wonderful. And somewhere these scientists are like, somewhere I think you heard of that hard problem of consciousness. Like there's a very struggle, like how this brain or the neurons are creating this subjective experience. Like generally it's like light rays going in your brain, creating that thing. So how like that consciousness manifests somewhere, we don't have answer for all these things, but we see these spiritual texts, they somewhere show the light, like this is what consciousness. So how the human experience, somewhere like that material thing is converted into that subjective thing, that consciousness thing, how that transition?
It's actually, we have to understand, first of all, the supreme consciousness, cosmic consciousness, which is manifesting at different levels. When it manifests at different level, it is called by different terms. Once you understand that, this is where the scientists are having problem. They are thinking that something in the brain or all those things, they are creating the consciousness. It is the other way around. Consciousness is the supreme reality, which is manifesting at different levels. Then when it operates at the thought level, that is the finer level. Then it operates at energy level. Then it operates at the material level. Once you understand that, then we get the link that there is only one spectrum of consciousness, which is from lowest level to the highest level. That is the only reality.
And I think this is at the end leaving a way, like if you get chance in future, so much is still there to ponder upon, to have a conversation. But today really it's a grateful joy to sit with you and listen this all these conversation, your real life experiences that you shared with all the audience. Like we started with your experience, like how these Kriya Yoga teachings, how from your being a researcher, being an IITian, you shifted to this being a life, or what I say, transformed, not shifted into this life of being a monk, and how these this life has given you that joy, or this channel is more of Anandyatra, like how you also moved into that journey, and in that how Guruji's teachings, especially this book, is for me also a way or a light to take us into that journey, help you, because most of the time you are giving the reference of this. I think it's like it's been like Guruji is sitting with me and answering all these questions, or something like that. And you mentioned like what I found the center of these is, if you practice yoga, these teachings, somewhere they will give you an answer. From that stillness, like we feel that joy, that love you talked of, how these experiences, you talked of problems also that we go through. You mentioned of 26 qualities in Bhagavad Gita as a soul, like how that grounding reality is that, and somewhere we are missing that inner self. You mentioned of shallow self idea also. So, but now we are rooting in that, so we need to transform into that inner reality, and where these Kriya Yoga teachings help in that. So, I'm really grateful to you. Any suggestion, any feedback you have for Anandyatra?
Keep on doing this work of fearlessly exploring that, the various aspects of life, how one can lead a fulfilling and very rich life. So for that purpose, you are doing wonderful service. Continue to do that, and so I pray for your venture.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you so much. Grateful to be here. So you all can share this beautiful podcast, a conversation with Swami Suddhananda Giri, and share with all family members, especially YSS devotees, if they can share with others, and have a transformative way of life, how they can travel that. Thank you so much.